Hey, what's up guys? Yes. Hey guys, it's Bridgette. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be another Weirdo Wednesday, where today we're talking about the case of Virginia Carpenter and her mysterious disappearance. Without any further ado, let's jump into this video. Alright guys, before we get started, I do put a video every single freaking day, and these videos are not meant to be disrespectful to any of the family, but they are supposed to be educational and kind of inform you on this case in case you haven't heard of it, because it is an older one. So this case is 70 years old, this happened in 1948, and today we're going to get talking about Virginia Carpenter. So Virginia Carpenter was described by friends and family to be a very happy, sweet, outgoing, fun person, and she was from Texarkana, which is a Texas town on the border of Texas and Arkansas. So Virginia decided to take some summer courses at the Texas State College for Women in Denton, Texas. So that morning on June 1st, 1948, she left her home, packed all of her belongings, and was ready to start her first day of college, so she took the train ride to Denton. So on the train ride to Denton, she met a new friend on the train, whose name was Marjorie Webster, and it was her first day of college too, so they decided to become friends, and they decided to share a taxi cab from one side of the campus where they got dropped off to the other side where they would be staying. Now Marjorie got dropped off first, followed by Virginia, who was supposed to have all of her trunks delivered that day, but she had one missing, so she decided to give the taxi driver her ticket to get the trunk the next day and deliver it back to her dorms, which was Breckenridge Hall dorms. So the taxi driver is an important piece of this case, and he's the last person to claim to have seen her alive, and his name was Edgar Ray Zachary, also known as Jack. Now he dropped her right outside of the hall dorm rooms, right in front of the building, and he claimed there were two men in a cream-colored convertible right out front who seemed to have known her. So when she got dropped off, she put all her bags outside. He offered to take him inside for her, and she said that the two men sitting there would help her out because they called over to her. She seemed to know them and said, "Hey, what are y'all doing over here?" So obviously she knew who they were, and they were going to help her with her bags. Now the taxi driver did have to bring the next bag that came for her the next day. She paid him $1 to come bring him back to the dorm room, and he dropped the bag off outside the dorm room the next morning, and it sat there for 2 days, and no one claimed it. Now the taxi driver claims that when she was last dropped off, she didn't go inside the dorm room. She was still outside talking to the men because apparently they were friends, and that's the last time he saw her. On June 4th, 1948, Kenny Braham, who was Virginia's boyfriend at the time, hadn't heard from her and decided to give a call to her mother to see why he hadn't heard from her, if everything was okay, and her mother hadn't heard from her either. So she decided to call the security office at the college campus to see if she had checked into her dorm, if she had been attending her classes, where was she, why can't she get a hold of her daughter, and they hadn't seen her, and she had just never appeared on campus apparently. She had never checked into her dorm room, and no one ever claimed her bag outside the building. Her mother decided to call Denton police and file her missing there since that's the last place she was seen, and they filed an investigation. So Kenny, Virginia's boyfriend, was obviously a top suspect because he had been dating her, and maybe she was one of the two men in the car that was talking to her the night she disappeared, but he passed all the polygraph tests, and it was highly unlikely that he did it. He had an alibi, and why would he cause suspicion to her being missing if he did it? Doesn't make much sense, but he passed all the polygraphs and he was fine, not a suspect. Now the next suspect obviously was the taxi driver because he was the last one to see her alive, and he passed some polygraph tests too, but he did have a previous criminal record, but apparently it didn't matter to the police, and his wife put an alibi for him that he was home at 10 p.m. and he had dropped her off at 9:30, so within the 30 minutes he was allegedly home. Now this investigation went on for many years, and every time that they were questioned, they had an alibi, except for in 1957 when his wife was divorcing him. Jack Zachary, the taxi driver, was claimed to not have been home at 10 p.m. like he had stated. Originally, his wife claimed he was actually just at home at 2 or 3 a.m. that next day, and she was covering for him, and that he was very abusive, that's why they were getting a divorce. So with a previous criminal record, he was apparently home at 2 or 3 a.m., but she could be lying because it is a divorce. But yeah, that's what she claims now, that he was home at like 2 or 3 a.m., not 10 p.m. She was covering for him. Now later on in 1957, he was charged with attempted rape, and apparently the charges got dropped, but he had a previous criminal record, and he was getting a rape charge, and his wife claimed him to be abusive, So I'm going to go ahead and put it out there that I think it was him, but this isn't the last known sightings of Virginia, so we're still going to talk about that. Now, this case garnered a lot of attention. It was very weird for a girl to go missing on her first day of college, and a lot of these news circulations started going around and people got to see Virginia's face, and there was plenty of sightings within that first week of her being missing. Now, here's a few things that people said. The first sighting was 2 days after her disappearance, and it was at a local gas station in Aubrey, a nearby town in Texas. And apparently she was in a convertible, a yellow-colored convertible, which is kind of similar to the cream color initially stated by the taxi driver. She was in there with 2 men and another female. Now, on June 11th, 10 days after her disappearance, in DeQueen, Arkansas, there was a sighting of Virginia on a train, and apparently she was acting really nervous, looking around, biting her fingernails, and she even asked one of the attendants of the train if there was any local hostels that were open and she could stay at. Now, a few minutes after this happened, after he talked to her, she had another man come onto the train, talk to her, and they left together. That was the last sighting at that appearance, but then 10 minutes after they both left the train, there was a call asking for Virginia, who, I don't know who knew she would be there. That's very strange, but whoever the man was, she obviously knew and just left with him. In January of 1949, a woman called in to say that she had seen Virginia hitchhiking. She even used her real name of Virginia, so that's a claim too, that she was just hitchhiking around, and she said she was a runaway, but that hasn't been confirmed either. In 1955, Virginia was formally pronounced dead by the state, and in 1984, the taxi driver, Zachary, passed away. Now, the last lead they have in this case is from 1998, when a 70-year-old man claimed to know exactly what happened to her and what happened to her body and who killed her, and he claimed that 2 men raped her, killed her, and dumped her body in a stock tank near a dam. Of course, this was investigated and they didn't find anything, so there were no leads from it, and the 2 men that he named were never named to the public, but apparently they had already passed away by the time this lead came out. And that is all the information I have for you. So apparently she just vanished into thin air. Now, obviously these 2 men in the convertible are very suspicious, if they even existed. Now, of course, it's only the taxi driver who claimed to have seen these 2 men in the convertible, so who knows? I mean, honestly, there are other sightings saying that there was 2 men in a convertible, but you could literally just hear a news thing about a yellow convertible and then see one and automatically assume that's the one, you know, so I'm not really sure if that lead makes sense. The woman on the train is very suspicious because they asked for her full name, Virginia Carpenter, and the hitchhiking story just seems like another out there kind of claim. There wasn't much proof when it came to that. I don't know what to believe. I honestly, I mean, if we're thinking about opinions here, I think that the taxi driver did it. A previous criminal record, wife claimed abuse and that she was covering for his alibi, and then that he attempted to rape someone. I mean, I think he's responsible for it. You guys can let me know what you think down below. If you've heard any other theories on this case, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and remember to stay safe and don't get kidnapped. Alright, bye.